He ushered for me to take all my clothes off. The most horrendous, terrifying experience I have ever been through.
He said the whites, that he will bring them here. He will make sure that he will enslave them.
The first time I met him, it looked helpful, it looked loving. Not knowing that behind that was a sadist, a psychopath.
TB Joshua is not any man of God, it's man of evil.
Hi guys, it's OB Keeng once again in the house with another video for you guys. Today I'm talking about TB Joshua's acclaimed documentary. I just gave it a first watch and I'm here to give my perspective as a Nigerian that was affected by this guy growing up. If you don't know TB Joshua, or Prophet TB Joshua as he was usually called, he was the founder of the Synagogue Church of All Nations, a very popular church based in Lagos State. This church drew, and I think it still draws, a lot of followers from all around the world. He was like a specialist in the miracle ministry, like the healing ministry. Like people will come from all over the place to get healing in his church. And as a Nigerian, I can tell you that this guy was really popular in Nigeria, like seriously popular. He was arguably the most popular pastor in Nigeria. He wasn't even kind of seen in the league of other pastors. Even when he spoke, it didn't seem like that was his focus. His main focus was kind of like the healing. And he was one of the pastors, the first pastors in Nigeria to have their own TV station that was basically dedicated to just pushing out his own content, called Emmanuel TV. I mean, this guy had presidents, international bigwigs coming from all over the world just to attend his church. Like, his church was always very famous for having a lot of white people in his church. People come from all over the world, America, Australia, just to come to his church. And a lot of people didn't really understand it. A lot of people didn't even see this guy as human. Like, they saw him like the second coming of Jesus. TB Joshua passed in 2021 and nobody knows the reason or how he passed. It's like a kept secret. In fact, a lot of people didn't think that this guy could die. Like, a lot of people thought that Prophet TB Joshua would live forever. That's how popular his ministry was. And now 3 years after his passing, the BBC has released a documentary on his church called Disciples. It's called Disciples because a lot of the people that were interviewed in this documentary were his closest disciples, kind of. And full disclaimer, I'm not here to like judge what he did. Like, he's not really around to defend himself. I'm not here to judge his followers or disciples themselves. Like, I'm just here to talk about what I learned from the whole documentary as a Nigerian and somebody that was, in the country while a lot of these things were happening. And I want to give my perspective on why this is important and people need to learn from this going forward. A lot of people, especially a lot of believers, are already doubting the credibility of this whole documentary. Some people are saying these people were paid to tarnish his image, but I don't really see how we can doubt the credibility, especially when even his daughter, like his biological daughter, is one of the witnesses that speaks against him in there. One of them claimed to be his right-hand man, like his number two. Another person claimed to be his chief video editor. And even there are a lot of anchors on his shows that spoke about, his ministry. And the BBC also gave a disclaimer that the investigation took 2 years. So that credibility argument, I can't really, go with that. Because I think they really did their homework, at least from what I watched. So basically, the BBC posted this documentary in 3 parts on YouTube. The first part of the video, started with a white lady from America who kind of talked about how she came to hear about this ministry and how she came to join this ministry as one of the anchors that I talked about. She was growing up in America, and when she was young, she discovered she was gay. And because she was from a Christian family and Christian denomination, she felt like something was wrong with her and, she needed to change it. So she came across TB Joshua's videos on the TV one day. And particularly, she came across the healing part of the video, the parts where, TB Joshua would heal or claim to heal these people of their illnesses. And she felt that being gay was an illness at the time. So she said that she set out to him, to be cured of her illness. So the first video is kind of an introduction into how the ministry started, how TB Joshua's ministry started, how he started to gain his followers, and an introduction into a lot of the disciples themselves, the followers, that joined him and were an integral part of his ministry. How people are lured into the church is basically the healing ministry that is the main selling point. Like I said, it's very, very gritty. Like, even in the documentary, they had to censor a lot of it. TB Joshua, one thing that set him apart, his own healing ministry apart, is that he did not shy away from showing like the real illnesses on his channel. Like, he would show the people that were insane, he would show people that are like grotesquely injured. And I guess they were kind of insinuating that these things looked so novel to those in America, to those in the international community. Like, they will come across these videos and it looks so gritty and real that they would, that's what kind of drew them to his church, because they saw these things and they said, this guy must be the real thing. And it kind of makes sense, because even Jesus himself in the Bible, what gave him a lot of his followers, what drew followers to him, was the miracle ministry. That was the main thing. Like, so part 1 is kind of a slow burn, but part 2 is where it starts to get into the real gritty aspects, where he begins to talk about how TB Joshua used to kind of manipulate his followers, his disciples, and a lot of the abuse that they endured. And some of these things, they sound, so grotesque, that they're crazy. They said something about how he would like to recruit young women, like 16, 17, and, they would abuse them in many ways, both physically, sexually, under the guise of either being a prayer. Like, he would be hitting them, and, like, even, he said it was a cycle of those that were being abusing the others on his behalf. He also talked about some very, very strange things happening that were happening inside the compound, because in his main compound, his disciples, his followers, they lived in there. They were not paid, but they lived there. Their food was for free, and that's where they will be helping to spread his ministry. And they kind of insinuated to the fact that they couldn't leave. They were not allowed to leave, that there was security at the gates, that the policemen were paid by this guy, and there was no respite for them. They couldn't report to the police, they couldn't escape the compound. There was also a kind of ostracization if you left, a kind of fear that they could come for you if you left, and if you spoke against the ministry. And it was interesting and sad as well, to see what a lot of these people were facing and being made to inflict on others. They basically said that they had no privacy at all. Like, basically they were like his puppets, like verbatim. Somebody said that they were his puppets. One of them said that he even witnessed, like, there are some weird things, like, TB Joshua would kind of, anytime he was dressing up, he would put honey inside his pants, which is kind of an allusion to an STD. I wouldn't know. So part 3, which was the final part, was where it was kind of the conclusion of his ministry, talking about the infamous collapse of structure. A part of his building actually fell down. Like, a part of the building was crushed at some point, and it led to the death of a lot of people in his church. And they talked about how this was a result of a structural damage in the church, and it was caused because TB Joshua had ordered that they add additional floors to his church to accommodate more people, but they kind of lied. That he was kind of lying to the audience, that that wasn't the reason, that it's people that are trying to attack his church. He saw something about planes flying over his church and, causing some shenanigans. So the families of those that died, when they came, that's what they were told. They will be told, like, that these people that died, that they were more holy because they died in a church, and, like, they should not basically make a big deal out of it, which you can imagine somebody that is mourning, that would be devastating thing to hear. But part 3 was the main part of this, in my opinion, because that's where they talked about the healing ministry. I think that's what that's what I wanted to see. That's what kept me in the documentary so long. And I think BBC knew that that's what a lot of people are interested in. How was he able to do all these miracles? How was he able to continue healing multiple people on a daily basis? People who come to his church from all over the world every day, trying to seek counsel with him, trying to seek healing, and he would heal them on TV, on camera, for everybody to see. And they'll be like, there is no way this can be real, because we're seeing it with our own eyes on video. Well, according to the disciples, they say that there was no healing that was actually taking place. The main thing was people that had actual illnesses that came to the church, and needed healing, they would kind of weed them out. They wouldn't allow them to come into the program. So they kind of focused on people that had lower injuries, or injuries that were already healing. And those are the people they would accept to see the prophet TB Joshua. On the day that they will appear on television, they were giving a lot of drugs, and they were kind of manipulated into exaggerating their illnesses and making their illnesses look worse than they really are for the cameras. Pretend like they can't walk, otherwise TB Joshua wouldn't see you, something like that. So they will come and be shouting that I can't walk, and then TB Joshua will do his thing, and they will get up, and it's a miracle, he can't walk now. And this was where the disciples now talked about escaping the compound and basically finding redemption. And maybe this might not be the end of the investigation. They claim they investigated for 2 years, but maybe there might be more revelations as time goes on. But this was what ultimately made me talk about this video, because I don't usually talk about videos, anything relating to religion, except that one time. What this video represents for me is the effect of poverty in Nigeria, and how it leads to a lot of manipulation in this country. And it's very, very sad to see a lot of these people that came to the church, they are actually in need of help. Some are in need of medical help, some are in need of psychological help. And it's really, really sad to me that somebody will come and and manipulate these people for financial gain, for fame. And there are so many of them. In Nigeria, there are so many people on a daily basis. We are the country with the highest number of people living in extreme poverty in the world. Is a manipulation that goes on every day, every single day in this country. Some people that come to the church, is their last resort. I guess this documentary will help to open a lot of people's eyes. 2024 seems to be a year where there is a lot of revelations. I mean, we had Cat Williams just early this year exposing a lot of what goes on in the comedy industry. In my previous video, I talked about what happened with, the 44 billion naira fraud. And now we have TB Joshua's documentary. We're still in the first month of the year. This documentary kind of came out of nowhere. Let me know your thoughts on TB Joshua and his ministry in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, I enjoy you to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. Thanks so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Once again, my name is OB Keeng, and I'll see you guys in the next one.